Hi there, thank you for finding your way to this episode of the Always Moving Forward podcast by MW Fitness. This short episode is about what to do when it all goes wrong, when life is really busy or something's happened that is going to stop you from being 100% on track with all your fitness, training and nutrition. It doesn't all have to go out the window, and we'll talk about that through this episode. Any questions, any help and support that you need, you can reach me on mark@mwfitness.net or check out the website www.mwfitness.net. So what I want to talk about is we go along, we're doing what we should be doing, nutrition, training, activity, whatever it looks like. But sometimes it just all goes wrong for whatever reason. Now that might be circumstances outside our control, life. I talk about this quite a lot. Being an adult comes with lots of responsibilities and our priorities have to change. And it's always good to prioritise ourselves, our well-being, but when we're responsible for spouse, partner, people at work, children, all those sorts of things, sometimes we just have to focus on something else and let some things go, even if that's just for a little while. I've got a particularly busy week at work this week during my teaching. Annual reviews coming up, so I'm arranging a meeting with every parent, which we've got to do virtually. Loads of paperwork to put together, lots of things to bring together. Fortunately, I've got great teaching assistants who are helping do it, but it's still a big job. It's taking my focus this week in terms of my work effort. And on top of that, I'm still teaching in my classroom every day, all through the day. So, that these things come around. It might be family circumstances, it might be illness, isolation, COVID, people are still isolating, 5-7 days at a time while they are maybe actually feeling fine but testing positive, or someone else in the family is. Most of these things are outside of our control. We can't control what is happening. What we can control and apply is what we already kind of know and have been doing. Now, it might be things like nutrition tracking has to be put to one side. But if you've been tracking for a little while, maybe even just since January, you've been using MyFitnessPal or some means of tracking, you've got a good idea just from looking at food now, how many calories are in there. You're going to be able to kind of manage it just by looking at it and going, oh, that's about right. I've overeaten a little bit there, and be able to manage it that way. Now, depending on what's going on, it might just be having to make choices real quick, on the hoof, eat whatever, and that can happen as well. That's absolutely fine. There's actually a thing built into a lot of people's kind of very rigid training programs called a diet break, and just take it as that and relax. Because the other thing, when we talked about hormones last time, all about the monthly cycle, there's other hormones that work in the body as well, and stress actually is a big driver for hormone change. And in a stressed state, we utilize a lot more energy, but at the same time also down-regulates other processes. So the main hormone we're talking about is adrenaline, and there's another hormone called ghrelin, which is actually linked to hunger and eating. Now, when we are heightened for whatever reason, through stress from life, work, whatever it is, we are producing more hormones to keep us going, and that creates a calorie need, because our brain's working more particularly, and other parts of our body are. And ghrelin is a hormone that tells the body to take in more energy. Now, for a certain amount of time, that's absolutely fine. That's going to happen. Our bodies are designed to do that. If we remain in that state for quite a while, in a stress state, circumstances are meaning that is the case, then there is that tendency to overeat because of the hormones. But being aware of it can just help managing it. And if whatever's going on, you can find some ways to counteract it in terms of mentally and physiologically by still finding that 2-minute quiet, that 2-minute, 5-minute switching off, even if there's still a little bit of time for some sort of activity, that you can walk for 10 minutes, stand on the front step of your house for 5 minutes and just breathe and look at the sky, either on a night or whatever. Don't stand out in the rain. But I think you'd understand what I'm saying is, if you can, whatever you can do that can just help manage the racing mind, the heightened senses, heart rate being elevated because we're in a stress state with whatever's going on. And anything we can do to help that is going to help overall with your well-being, and it's also going to help overall with the progress and maintaining the progress, keeping it there from what you've already been doing. Now, taking a week off, 10 days off, kind of training activity is not going to be a big deal either, especially if you train with resistance, training with weights, body weight even as well, just because the stimulus that training creates, the changes that the body makes, it doesn't want to give them up really easy. You've done some activities, you've done some training, that means you have got stronger, your connective tissue's got stronger, your ability to recover has improved, and the body's not going to just let that go because you didn't train on Monday and you had to train on Wednesday instead because of the circumstances that have come up. Body is just going to just wait, in a sense, for that stimulus to come along again. Now, if it was long term and it was much longer before you apply the training stimulus again, then you will feel like you can't do as much as you can before, because there will be some regression there. But if we're talking 7-10 days off, then you are maybe going to feel psychologically, I'm not going to be able to do as much, but actually physically you probably will. Once you've kind of got past that little barrier of I'm back into it, take that deep breath, go for it, you'll probably find that you're still able to do it. A long time ago, so we're talking kind of 2004 actually to around about 2006, I trained in a way where I literally trained once a week, and the stimulus was very, very high intensity resistance training. Not too many exercises, only generally one set of an exercise, and it was just super high intensity, and it was maximal minimal stimulus. So it was a massive stimulus from a short amount of effort, but the stimulus was so great that the change was there, and the recovery time was needed to come back round. Now, I'm not suggesting you have to train anything like that at all, but just saying that even just training once a week, there was still really, really good progression, maybe even better progression than other training that I'd done before, because the stimulus was in the right place and the recovery was also in the right place, because I wasn't trying to repeat that again until 7 days later. So don't stress too much about not being able to train. Just do the best that you can. Now, sometimes in these circumstances, the mindset and mentality is, do you know what? I've been talking to people about this kind of, with this kind of language and therefore mindset, in the last few weeks, either kind of on the wagon, off the wagon. Once I come off, once I know I'm not doing what I should be doing, then everything's out the window. If we can get away from that and just maintain what we can maintain, again, we're not going to go too far backwards. This is mainly around nutrition. I've done it before where injury, circumstances, whatever it is, particularly bad patch I had in one particular job, and everything's out. Don't really care what I'm eating. Just want to just kick back, get rid of all the kind of restrictions is the wrong word because it wasn't really super restricted diet, but just take the focus off and just go with it, whatever. If we can not have that temptation to completely send everything off to one side and forget everything we've been doing, then once again, we're still going to maintain and continue. So for instance, fat loss and weight loss, if you are in a calorie deficit, that means you have calories you are burning that you are not consuming. If in this period when you can't be tracking, maybe haven't got so much control over what you're cooking, when you're going to eat, all those sorts of things, if your calorie intake only comes up to maintenance, the body has got as much coming in as you are utilizing. So in a sense, your body composition is just going to stay static. It's going to stay nice and level. The issues come if you're overeating massively for a long period of time. We all know about that. But if you're just being mindful of, do you know what, I'm not going to worry too much about my deficit, but also I'm not going to eat too much more, then you're going to be into maintenance. I've had people working with me who have got great results from only being in a deficit Monday to Friday, because at the weekend they wanted to relax. They wanted to be able to have a breakfast out. They wanted to be able to have a breakfast out, or they wanted to be able to have that coffee and cake on a Saturday afternoon. And they just literally tracked up to maintenance on the weekend. So 5 days a week in a maintenance of 300 calories, still 1,500 calories, not as in under by 1,500 calorie deficit per week. That's still potential for half a pound or so of weight loss every week. Now, would it have been potentially, could they have got faster results if they'd maintained a deficit 7 days a week for many, many weeks? Maybe. Also, they probably would have started to resent it. And also then the weekends would have been super challenging. So trying to fit food in, fit that balanced life into a round peg into a square hole, or the way around, square peg into a round hole, didn't work for the mindset. So it's finding those strategies to overcome these things and keeping that balance and working out what is sustainable. It's why I always try and really work with people to establish what is actually realistic in terms of training, because best intentions, I want to do 4 or 5 days a week, I'm going to do extra the weekend. Is that really what you can do? 2, 3, 4 times a week of good quality, short, intense workouts is going to be better than feeling like you've missed a day here, missed another day there, or I'm really off track, I'm really off my schedule. Plan for less. If you can do a little bit more, great. Which is why those of you guys that work with me have got gym programs, which is why I like the alternating day program, because, for instance, push and pull, if you've got a push and pull workout, then if you can fit that in 2 cycles per week, means you've done 4 workouts, means you train the muscle twice in a week, great. If you only fit it in, you can fit in 2 workouts per week, you've still trained the full body in that week. If you can fit a 3rd workout in, it just means you're going to rotate around, push, pull, push, next week start pull, push, pull, and just keep it going. And it just means that there's that flexibility within what you're doing. And then that also might mean that you can drop in a different fun activity. One of my guys this week, trampolining with the kids. That is definitely going to count as a workout. I've been to a trampoline place, me and Hannah went there over in one in Leeds. Wow, you're bouncing around, you don't realise how much activity you're doing until the next day when you're, wow, that was quite a lot of hard work. I probably actually, that's the equivalent of a good run. It's the equivalent of a short spin bike class. It's the equivalent of doing another 8,000, 10,000 steps in a day. So if you are still active, you're not going to regress, maybe in the way you think you might if you're not doing actual workouts, which was, through lockdown, understandably, people missed the gym, but there was always those alternatives available. So I think definitely the last couple of years has certainly shown a lot of people that there is definitely multiple ways to participate in training and fitness, and also to maintain what you've done before. You just have to think a little bit outside of the box. I coined a phrase with one of my clients, adapt and adjust. He was training for a show, had to start training at home, a lot more band work, all that sort of thing, and still progressed and still got to where he wanted to get to in terms of stepping on stage in a pair of board shorts, looking really, really good. I'll share his photos at some point pretty soon. So it's a case of keeping in mind the principles that you've been using. You might not use all the tools in terms of tracking and things like that. You might not use all the workouts, but if you can keep in mind what you're eating, if you can maintain activity in some way, great. If you can, probably even more importantly, at these times, still maintain just those little times of keeping yourself well mentally, in terms of taking that little tiny bit of time out just for yourself to get a handle on the situation, or just take that breather, take that break, lower those stress levels, then you are going to continue to be on track long term overall. And these little bumps in the road come along, they're always gonna, it's always going to throw it up. Life, being an adult, having responsibilities, so these things are always going to come along. So having a mindset of, I'm going to do the best that I can right now, whatever that looks like, then when I come back to be able to do more of what I know I need to do, I've not gone so far backwards that I've undone any of the work. The body wants to maintain the progress it's made. We support it by still eating as well as we can along the way, and from there then you get back to that schedule, diary, being more of your own again to do what you want to do. It really does come down to thinking long term and lifestyle, rather than in very, very small chunks of achieving things. But it has to be a lifestyle. My sister-in-law, brilliant, really fit lady, running, really, really consistent, running for her health because she really enjoys it. She lives in a beautiful place in Spain. But a small glass of wine and dark chocolate pretty much every day, because that is what keeps the balance and what makes it sustainable for her. So it's finding those things along the way that mean we can keep on going. And when these things come up that mean we are not 100%, 90%, 80%, whatever, on track, then we fall back a little bit, but we don't fall so far back that we can't come back up to that place where we're doing what we know we should be doing. So any help and support that you need in terms of staying on track or navigating different circumstances, even as things open up even more, how do you navigate meals out, things like that. We'll be talking more about that as the weeks go on, but at the same time, if it's coming up for you, something like that soon, then give me a shout. There's some strategies you can use to still enjoy yourself, still have great time eating out or whatever it is, and stay on track, as it were.
Thank you for listening to the Always Moving Forward podcast. You can find more information about MW Fitness at www.mwfitness.net, and all our links to social media are there too.